Welcome back, my friends. So in the last lecture we saw that we use xtext to create an output of our JavaScript object to any HTML element that can contain text. Okay, but now I want to show you another way to create a kind of output or influencing from the JavaScript object to our HTML, and that is xbind. So please open the file xbind.html now, as well as in your editor as in your browser here. So what you do with xbind is that you influence HTML attributes. And actually you can see that very nicely here in this editor window. Everything that is purple here is an HTML attribute. So attributes are there to define certain properties of our HTML. It can be the charset, it can be the href, it can be this defer here, it can be a class, and so on. Okay, so let's do a few quick examples. First, we want to set the value of this input here on the right. So let's look for input. I say Command F and I look for input to find this input, and here it is. Okay, so now I want to give this input some data. So I say xdata, and I'm gonna define my input value, for example, and this should be some value. Okay, so and now I want to have this value assigned to the value of the actual input. So the value is here, okay? So I'm doing it like this. In front of the word value, I put x minus bind and then colon, okay? And then here, between those two double quotes, I put the name of the key of the object that I want to bind here. And this name of the key is my input value. Okay, so I'm gonna copy that and put it here in between those two double quotes. Let's save this. And we have some value here on the right. Okay. And I'm gonna change this and it will change here as well. So this xbind in Alpine.js, it is used all the time. So there is a short form for this. And the short form for xbind colon is just the colon alone. So we can delete this xbind here. Let's do that. And let's hit save. And as we can see here on the right, it still works. So from now on, I only will use the colon for xbind. All right. So now I want to show you something that's really cool. Let's go behind this span here where it says input value is bound to my var. Let's go behind that and add a break. All right, and then let's copy our input from before, the whole thing here. Let's copy that and let's put it after this break. Let's save, and now we have this thing twice. Okay, but now I want to set this input to disabled. So I go here. Let's say before the placeholder, I type enter, and here I put the attribute disabled. Okay, so disabled is a kind of standalone attribute. It doesn't have a value standard-wise. So let's go here and check it. Yes, it is disabled, the second one. I cannot type here anymore. So now, let me show you something. Let's go to the xData of this input. I just add some line breaks here after the curly braces maybe. So it's better visible on this very small window. So here behind the value of my input value, I add a comma, and I will add another key in my object, and I will call this key disabled, or let's call it is disabled. That's better. And we give this a value of just true. Okay. And now what we can do is we can bind this key here, or this attribute of my object, we can bind this to disabled down here. So I put a colon in front of disabled, and then I can do like this. I can say equals and then 2 double quotes. I mean, even so disabled doesn't have those colon, this double quotes, I can add them if I bind an object to it. And then I can put inside here my key is disabled. So is disabled evaluates in the moment true. So here we put true. So what happens is in the moment nothing. It is still disabled. But if we put the value of the key is disabled to false and save, then the input is not disabled anymore. How cool is that? So, of course, this binding is used very often to change the looks of your web page. I show you this in example 2. Let's go to example 2 here. And here you have this span where it says some text. Let's give this span a style attribute. So we say style, and we're gonna bind this style to some key. Let's call it my style. Okay, and now let's define this my style here directly in the span. So I say xData, and I say my style colon my style is, for instance, font weight 700, like this, and then my text has a font weight of 700, and I can change this, for example, to 100, and now it has 100. Okay, now let's go to the third example here, where it says set class attribute. All right, let's scroll down here, and then we have here this div, okay, and we want to set the class attribute. So I add a class attribute here, like this, and I'm gonna bind it to my class. My class. And then I'm gonna define my class. I'm gonna say my class is, for instance, bg minus green minus 500. That's one of this Tailwind CSS styles, and it is green. Or I can say red, then it is red. All right. By the way, here on the bottom of the HTML, I put a link to the color system of Tailwind CSS in case you are interested in how these colors work. But let me give you just one last example. What is if this div, for example, already has a class? So let's go back here and let's remove this colon in front of class. And instead of my class, I give it another class. For example, the class rounded -XL, which is also a Tailwind class. As you can see here, our corners are rounded now. Okay, so now I want to keep this class, but also I want to add the dynamic class from XData. So this you can do with concatenation. So let's put the colon in front of class again. And if we save now, nothing works. Even the rounded XL doesn't work anymore. But we can do it like this. We set this rounded XL in single quotes. One in the beginning and one in the end. And then we type plus, because in JavaScript with plus you can concatenate strings. And then after the plus we write my class. Okay? But you have to be careful. Here at the rounded XL you need a space in the end. Okay? Because the two class names have to be separated. So again, I go behind the class and I put my class here, the dynamic class. All right. Let's hit save. And now we have this rounded corners and we have our red background, which we can of course change to any other color. All right, guys. So maybe slowly you get an idea where this is all going to. But in the next lecture it will get even cooler, because there we will do double binding. Okay, this was normal binding and then we will do double binding. Double binding will mean that we not bind the variable to some attribute in one way, we can also do it the other way. And then it will get more and more dynamic. See you there.